COVID shield. The change at the helm in Uttarakhand seems triggered by legal and political obstacles. Pushkar Dhami has replaced Tirap Singh Rawat as the new CM of Uttarakhand in the second change of guard in the state within 4 months. Mr. Rawat was not a member of the state legislature and would have not had to be elected as MLA if he were to continue in office beyond 6 months. The BJP has put out a narrative of a legal limbo to explain the change, claiming that it had become impossible for him to be elected an MLA within the 6 month time frame. Mr. Rawat said in an exit statement that given the constitutional crisis, I felt it was right for me to resign. He went on to add, bypolls could not be held because of COVID-19, which was not his decision or the BJP's to take. The Representation of the People Act 1951 mandates that a bypoll for any vacancy should be held within 6 months of that vacancy arising, provided that the remainder of the term is not less than 1 year, or the ECI and the centre do not certify that holding that bypoll in that timeframe is difficult. The Act does not bar a bypoll even when the remaining term of the Assembly is less than 1 year, though it becomes optional in that case. In the past, the ECI has conducted bypolls for assemblies that had less than 1 year of life remaining. It also remains unclear whether the ECI decided not to conduct bypolls to the two vacant seats in the Uttarakhand Assembly on account of COVID-19 or any other reason. The change of guard appears to be a political decision of the BJP, but the party does not want it to appear so. Over two terms, the BJP has had 7 CMs in the state. For all its claimed mastery over matters political, the party picked the wrong horse in Mr. Rawat, an admission implied in his replacement. Far from putting the BJP house in order, Mr. Rawat's tenure of nearly 4 months aggravated the tensions within the state unit and embarrassed the party elsewhere. While a political party can run its affairs as it deems appropriate, backing up its decision with speculation on how the ECI might act creates an unhealthy fog around the institution, which has had to deal with similar situations elsewhere too. West Bengal Chief Minister Mamata Banerjee, who is not a member of the state assembly, needs to be elected to it within 4 years. The assembly has 7 vacant seats, but there is no clarity regarding the ECI's plan to hold bypolls. For its own reputation and to demonstrate fairness in the conduct and timing of elections, the ECI must explain its thinking regarding pending bypolls. The pandemic has raised unprecedented challenges in the management of elections that the ECI has to adapt to. It must do so in a transparent manner and ensure that its actions or silence do not appear designed to accommodate political machinations. Mixed bag. Restoring health of every constituent sector is a must for long-term growth in exports. India's merchandise exports reached an all-time quarterly high of $95 billion in the 3 months ended June, providing welcome cheer on the economic front. That the record was notched up during a quarter when the second wave of the pandemic hit its peak and amid varying degrees of lockdowns is all the more noteworthy. Exports last month surged 47% from June 2020 to $32.5 billion, even discounting the fact that the year earlier period provided an anomalous base as the economy had just begun reopening from a protracted nationwide lockdown. Growth in shipments was still a robust 30% when compared with the pre-pandemic June of 2019. Propelling the surge from the 2019 levels were non-rice cereals, which quadrupled, iron ore, which more than doubled, and organic and inorganic chemicals that rose 62%. Engineering goods exports has the biggest jump in dollar terms, adding $2.73 billion in value, or 42% over June 2019, as the rising vaccination coverage and economic recovery in key developed markets, including the EU and the US, bolstered demand. Commerce and Industry Minister Piyush Goyal was enthused enough by the export performance to posit that shipments of goods to overseas markets could touch the $400 billion mark this fiscal, a figure which, if achieved, would represent an annual record. Trade data, however, reveals that a significant driver of the export growth has been the runaway rally in commodity prices that have benefited from the accelerated reopening of major economies, as well as an increased appetite for raw materials and grains in China. On the other hand, the crucial job-generating export sectors, including ready-made garments, leather and leather products, and tea, all posted double-digit declines from June 2019 levels, reflecting the deeper structural problems that dog each one of them. If the tea industry has been facing a long-term downtrend exacerbated by inadequate product variety, lack of marketing savvy, and sharp competition from rivals, including Sri Lanka and Kenya, the leather goods segment has been put out on the ropes by a combination of short-sighted policy measures. WTO mandated withdrawal of export incentives and a pandemic-induced slowdown in orders. For a segment that provides large-scale employment, the recent imposition of an import duty on a key raw material has thrown the sector's very viability into question, with the government dragging its feet on notifying the rates applicable under the Remission of Duties and Taxes on Export Products scheme. Exporters are still unsure of how to price their products while bidding for orders. The container shortage and heightened congestion have also sent freight rates out of Indian ports soaring. Policymakers need to look beyond headline numbers and expedite action to restore the health of every constituent sector if economically enduring long-term growth in exports is to be ensured.